easier for me to do it, like in person, but in here, and we will share the screen. So what we've got today is we are going to begin searching. Right? We're going to begin search. Oh, I should turn this on for you guys. We're going to begin searching for the articles that will form the basis of our systematic review. So there are two parts of searching in the systematic review process, okay? The first one is searching so that we have a background of knowledge of the topics for our systematic review. So, for example, if we're looking at oh gosh, somebody help me out with something they're looking at. Okay, cupping in what? Like treatment of like injuries and stuff? Right, okay, perfect. So like, if we're going to write about cupping and soreness, we need to know a little bit about what causes soreness, like the prevalence of muscle soreness, a little bit about the history of cupping and why that might work. Right? We need to be able to write this introduction as well as the discussion at the end, where we take our research and put it into context. First, in the introduction, we create the argument on why this research needs to be done, and then in the discussion, we put this in context. So we need some research in there to form the basis of our introduction and discussion, right? So that is the first part of searching. This is the same searching you've done your entire life, right? If I were to ask you, which I will on Monday of next week, to write about a 3-paragraph introductory paper about your topic, you would be able to do that fairly easily. You go find some research and all that. Right? And if you have never done any of that, I'll show you a couple of tips and tricks here. Hopefully that will make it a little bit easier. But the real reason that we have today as a lesson, as well as Friday as a work day, is because in a systematic review, searching is in fact the data collection process. So the same way if you ever have done research or seen research, right? You collect data, right? You write your methods, you execute your methods and collect data. We're going to do the exact same thing, but searching is our data collection. So the same way from the introduction to research courses and lessons that you've had in the past, they always say that the methods need to be so specific that they can be reproducible, right? Right, so somebody else can reproduce your methods. The same is true here. So if searching is our reproducible methods, we need to be much more focused in our search strategy than we've done in the past. And I've kind of hinted at this a couple of times with this idea that we have to use every article that matches our search criteria. So we have 2 points today. First, make sure we're comfortable in using the different searching databases, stuff like that, stuff that you probably already know, have done before, but maybe I can give you a few tricks. And then second, start creating our methods for our data collection. All right? It's not opened yet. There it is. So we've written our PICO question, right? And I asked you guys to spend a little bit of time working on synonyms down to here, right? So we've got our synonyms for our main topics, and we have our PICO question. These are going to form the backbone of our search. You can also see down here some sample databases that you can use, and we will all be using these four: Medline, PubMed, which are fairly similar, Sports Discus, and CNOL. Okay? And so when we do our methods, part of our methods will be we will search each of these databases. For the introduction, you can pick your favorite. All right, so you can access these databases through the library databases here. Right? And I'll show you Sports Discus because that's probably the one that you guys have used the most. I'm assuming it's the most applicable here. But Sports Discus now is actually done through EBSCOhost. So I don't know if you've ever known this or not, but you can search multiple databases through EBSCOhost at once. And CNOL, right, which is more nursing but has some application to there. CNOL Complete is also through EBSCOhost. So I can click on CNOL there, and now I'm searching both Sports Discus and CNOL. You will like that button. It will save you time. Right? So once I get into searching, I have these different fields with that. I can also sign in, and if you haven't created any of these sorts of accounts with these things, both with PubMed as with EBSCOhost, it's worth doing that so you can save your searches, right? That will be important. So do that. You can also create alerts. So like if there's something that's really interesting to you, it will search that database however often you want it to, once a day, once a week, once a month, and it will send you all the new articles that would come up if you were to do that search today. All right. The other thing to talk about next then is this idea of Boolean operators, right? And or not. Has anybody spent any time focusing on these? A little bit, one of two of you? It's pretty simple when you think about it. Anytime you use the word and, it means that it has to have both search terms in there. So you use and to narrow. Or means that it has to include one or the other, right? So you use or to broaden. So and would be used for multiple parts of your PICO question. So you might start with, I'm going to search with the patient population, whatever that is, and the intervention, and the comparison group, and the outcome. But we also have the synonyms. So in the patient population, we might have like collegiate athlete, right? Or, intercollegiate athlete. That's not a great one, but that thing. So it only needs one or the other, and it would expand that. So or is for the synonyms, not is for the antonyms. Does that make sense on when we're going to use these? So the easiest way to do that going back to our thing is to use and here and then use this as my most important, my second most important, my third most important. You can add, I believe, there, fourth most important. Within this, then, you can do the same thing using or. So if I have multiple things using quotations to book the entire word together, I could create, you know, like football or soccer, right? And then not, so you can already see it's coming, not American, not NFL. Right? So this would be if I was interested in soccer, right? So I want football or soccer, not American, not NFL. I don't know why the NFL was there, but came up with that, right? Makes sense. Okay. I can then do an and for my next most important. And so I'm going to start with that by just putting in all four with all of my synonyms and all of my antonyms. I'm going to see what happens. What's more than likely going to happen is you're going to get a very, very, very small number of articles. Because like I said, you're at that point with all of these ands, you are narrowing it to include only some articles that have the exact same PICO question that you did. Right? Not very likely. So then what do? You eliminate one of those. You eliminate the next one if you need to until you get to be in a more manageable setting. You can also do some of this truncation and wildcard operators that will save you some time and some headaches. Right? So a truncation basically means that you're going to use this asterisk in there, and that's going to include any words that have this as the start and anything afterwards, right? So like this here, you know, has all of these different words, right, that would be searched for by just searching for this. This becomes particularly important because when we get to our preliminary keywords worksheet next, you don't want to have to write out all of these every time. And so if there are like, the biggest one would be like, if you were searching for tendinitis, right? That's a common one. Well, tendinitis can be tendinitis, tendinopathy, tendinosis, yeah, like several other things with that. Right? So instead of typing each one of those out, you would just do tendon asterisk. You can also do wildcards, which is exactly one character. So like it has the example of, you know, if you go here, you could search for woman or woman, nebulizer with both of its spellings all at the same time. Does that make sense? Some specific things that might come up. So here is the worksheet that you guys will be working on for the methods section. So we have two assignments. Let me go back to get out of the way. So we have two assignments coming up that we're preparing for with this search stuff. we have the preliminary keywords and search results that are due October 11th, which is what, Monday? Monday. And then we will have our draft of our introduction due, I believe that's what, Friday or so? Well, that makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, it's because it's Friday is our work day. So it's that due Sunday at midnight, meaning that it was an in-class activity for Friday, but I gave you the whole weekend. I don't know why I do that, opposed to just having it due Monday. Oh, because I don't want you to wake up early Monday morning to do something. That's just silly. Stay up later Sunday night, but don't start your week off waking up at 6 in the morning to do an assignment. That's just bad business, right? So you have the draft of the introduction. So as you're doing this and you're looking for that, continue to look for background information articles that would be helpful for your introduction, right? The more you can do that while you're already searching, the better. But on Sunday, and what I would like you to work on for the rest of this week is this worksheet. So state your research topic, right? Here is your PICO question. 2 to 3 most important concepts. These are your ranked ordered top, 2 or 3. Here's your 3 concepts. Like I said, you probably won't get to 4 anyway, so the fact that this worksheet doesn't have 4 is fine. And this is a PDF, so feel free to, print this off and write on it or create your own Word document for it. Like with most of them, I stole this from somewhere. Right, so create your own, and for each of your concepts, right, and these are your PICO questions in ranked or PICO components in ranked order, right? I want to make sure I focus on that. PICO questions in ranked order, and that's where you're going to do not so much the and, right, unless you legitimately have, 2 things that are part of there that are really important. Usually, if within a concept, if we want and, we'll just put it in quotes. That makes it and, right? But we're going to mainly be doing ors and nots. And these are our synonyms. Okay, so we've pretty much already done all of this, right? So as you go through, you will create this in, don't write on this to begin with, because this will be more towards your final project. You're going to have to do this multiple times until you're feeling like you're getting ideally between 5 and 25 articles. That would be ideal. If you're not able to get there, that's fine. That's why this is the preliminary one. We will work together when we get to the methods to get to our final ones. But try to continue to manipulate, massage your search strategy to get 5 to 25 articles. And then this will be your search statement. Your search statement is just each of these in quotation marks with the and in between, and then the number of results from each of these different things. You can combine sports discus and CNOL because you can search those at the same time. PubMed is just at PubMed.gov or whatever. It's just PubMed. It's a more user-friendly version of Medline. You can search Medline from the databases on the library as well. Has anybody not used PubMed or Medline before that they would like to see it? It looks pretty much exactly the same. So you need to use all 4. There's a good chance that there will be overlap, but not all journals are listed in each database. And so these are the 4 that to make sure we're inclusive. We need 20 to 25 total. So like, as long as your PubMed search is between 5 and 25, your CNOL search maybe is between 5 and 25, as long as we're in that 5 to 25 for each one, we're fine. Because at most, assuming that there would be 100% independence, which there will not be, that would be 100 articles, and that's not totally unmanageable. And that's assuming we're at the highest level and complete independence, and that won't happen. Because a lot of journals are listed in multiple databases, thereby they will show up each time. And that's part of the nice thing about being able to search sports discus and CNOL at the same time, is if the article is in both CNOL and sports discus, it only shows up once, opposed to twice. Good question. Other questions about what I would like you to be working on the remainder of this week? Perfect. So before I kick you guys loose, obviously we are getting down the road here a little bit. So the most important thing that you do first is to fine-tune your PICO question. Make sure you really understand what you want to know. So that way you don't have to redo any of these search things later on. Now, since we're at the searching, each time we whack off one of the levels of importance, that is okay. That just means that we have to be a little bit more broad in our level of understanding and apply it back to our situation. So I've used the example of, like different patient populations. As long as if the patient population is the least important to us, that means that we can reasonably assume that evidence from a different patient population would also apply to our patient population. It doesn't change our PICO question, but it does change our search criteria. So that makes sense, right? Our PICO question remains the same, but because we don't have enough articles to answer our exact PICO question, our search strategy will be less than our PICO question. Got that? That's kind of an important thing to remember. So don't change your PICO question because of your search not coming back. Just whack off parts of your PICO question. If you continue, if you're down to like 1 or to 2, you need to have at least 2 parts of your PICO question probably in there. Otherwise, if you just type in cupping or just one thing, comes back with a bazillion articles. So if you have 2 components in there and you're still not getting a lot of articles, that's when you start looking for more synonyms. Or ideally, you can also find some of these mesh terms. Right? All a mesh term is somebody created a list of terms that then authors link to. And so it says, we're going to call tendinitis tendinopathy, and that's a mesh term. I mean, that's a formal search term. You can go that way. If you continue to struggle with that, the best thing to do is probably just to send me a message. Say, hey, this is what I'm searching. This is what I'm getting. Do you have any thoughts? Because, I mean, like I said, the next thing is going to be synonyms. Is it called something else? Read some additional articles, see what they're calling it, what keywords they're using. All those are helpful things because in order for our research to be strong, we need to make sure we get every article that is applicable to our PICO question. That's what makes this a level 1 evidence opposed to a level 5 evidence, is we are going to be so thorough that we make sure that every article that applies is in our review, not just the ones we choose. Questions on that? Very good. So that being the case, I will kick you guys loose for the week. You can do whatever you need to do to fill out this worksheet, as well as trying to find any good background articles that will help you write your introduction. All right? Have a great week.